Starfield releases in early 2023, and Bethesda fans are looking forward to seeing what the new frontier will bring to the table. It's the company's first new IP in more than 25 years, so the community has almost nothing to go on except Bethesda's gameplay teasers and official announcements. Here's why we think Starfield should include alien companions. Let's get into it. First off, the Zayton aliens. One apparently outlandish chance is the inclusion of Fallout 3's alien species from the Mothership Zeta expansion pack. While it may sound kinda crazy at first, adding the Zaytons to Starfield's giant world actually makes a lot of sense. Doing this would create a link between the world of Starfield and Fallout, but if that's too intricate, Bethesda can always pin it down to being an Easter egg. Nevertheless, a callback to Mothership Zeta would be an excellent inclusion for Fallout fans. Though we first saw them in Fallout 3, the Zaytons have supposedly been studying Earth in great detail even before the Great War of Fallout. The aliens were actually stealing man-made technology and kidnapping local life forms all the way back since the 1960s. So, while the Zaytons' motivations are still vague, they seem prepared and determined to experiment on the human race and other earthly beings. It's also believed that government institutions, most obviously the Enclave, somehow got themselves alien devices and used them as a blueprint for the things they were creating. This was confirmed by the MPLX Nova Surge, a one-of-a-kind plasma pistol in Fallout 3 that was reportedly a piece of government-owned alien technology. Fallout 76, which canonically happens after the Great War and before Fallout 3, further confirms this, as players can locate alien corpses within the Enclave's research facility. Up next, let's go further down into the Fallout timeline. While the Enclave's alien research was put on pause after the Great War, the Zaytons kept their research practices going. In Fallout 76, they abducted wastelanders for experimentation, having been named the Flatwoods Monster in Appalachia. Players can even fight against them in the Invaders from Beyond Fallout 76 event, where they must battle hordes of aliens, while a mysterious friend known as Homer Saperstein remotely disables their technology and gives players an advantage. When we go even later down the Fallout timeline, the Zaytons finally make a theatrical appearance in Fallout 3's Mothership Zeta DLC. In this questline, the Lone Wanderer gets teleported and finds himself in an alien spaceship that's being led by a group of Zaytons. In the spaceship, the player gets to meet other abducted humans from different time periods of history, pretty much confirming that the Zayton race has been preying on humans for an insanely long time now. Luckily, the Lone Wanderer manages to battle and defeat the aliens and escape their mothership. Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 4 also feature player encounters with aliens, but they're pretty short when compared to the events we mentioned above. Choosing the Fallout New Vegas perk, Wild Wasteland, lets the player encounter a UFO not too far from the Horowitz farmstead, with 3 enemy aliens waiting close to it. Meanwhile, Fallout 4 has an unmarked place where a crashed UFO and a single alien can be found. Note that whether this alien is one of the Zaytons is never confirmed, but they look very similar to the Zayton aliens. Let's discuss the history of the Zaytons. The Zaytons have been an active force since roughly as early as 2102, which was the year when Fallout 76 began, and as late as 2287 when Fallout 4 started. Starfield is set around the year 2330, which doesn't stray too far from the Fallout timeline, so it wouldn't be too wild to think that the Zayton race persisted for another half a century. If anything, the Zaytons would definitely be an interesting addition to the various races of Starfield. Maybe the new title could even dive deeper into why they're so hellbent when it comes to experimenting on humans. It'd definitely make for an interesting questline, one specifically made for Fallout fans. That said, the Zaytons don't require a whole quest series should they be kept in the game. They could simply be included in some random encounter. Perhaps they could attempt to hijack the player's spaceship in Starfield while they were traveling through a remote part of the solar system, attacking them using their energy beams. Later, the player could also happen to come upon news reports and notes about a hostile alien race going around the colony. Moving on, canon to Starfield lore or an Easter egg. Bringing in the Zayton aliens in Starfield IP inevitably creates links between it and the Fallout universe. It would make fans think that the two worlds are the same, which would then force us to question what the canon is and raise even more questions. For example, if Starfield and Fallout really did happen in the same universe, it would be hard to sensibly explain the jump from post-apocalyptic human civilization to an intergalactic space colony. Fallout 4 featured plenty of futuristic technology, but it's probably not enough to establish a whole society spanning different planets. However, this contention comes from the idea that the humanoid race in Starfield's reveal trailers actually comes from Earth. The issue could be solved straight away if the humanoid beings from Starfield and those from Fallout were two completely separate races from separate galaxies. So really, Bethesda has more than enough leeway in Starfield lore makes sense when taken together. Moreover, here's why some inconsistency could be forgiven. The developer doesn't need to focus too much on keeping the lore consistent. To prevent all the fuss of making the canon make sense, Bethesda can simply keep the Zayton aliens as a Fallout Easter egg. After all, past Bethesda titles have had their fair share of references to the developer's other IPs, from Nirnroot showing up in Fallout to sweet rolls pretty much everywhere. At the end of the day, a callback to one of Fallout's most bizarre add-ons would definitely be enough to make fans satisfied. No more lore questions asked. Of course, all of what we've said is merely speculation on what Bethesda could be keeping in store for players in Starfield. The community is going to have to sit back and wait for announcements or the game's release to see whether or not the developer chose to spotlight the Zayton race in the new IP. Though with over 1,000 planets to venture, Starfield no doubt has plenty of space to sneak in a couple of references to the Fallout alien race. Starfield comes out in 2023 for both Xbox Series X and PC. Other related news. Moving on, Starfield is all set to be Bethesda's largest game so far. According to Starfield's composer, this game is going to be Bethesda's largest game yet, but the size matters less than what Bethesda is planning on doing with it. Inon Zur isn't exactly a name known by everyone right now, but it's a name worth knowing. Inon Zur is one of the greatest composers within the gaming industry, and he has some impressive names under his belt, having worked on some major games, as well as plenty of smaller ones, dating all the way back to 2000, meaning the man has over 2 decades of experience under his name, and there's a high chance you've also definitely played a game with music made by this guy. He's worked on Dragon Age Origins, which also won a 2009 Hollywood Music and Media Award for Best Original Song. Besides that, other notable projects of his include Outriders, Dragon's Dogma, Men of Valor, Naruto Rise of Ninja, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, and too many more to name. Coming up, it's going to be more than just your average RPG shooter. He's also been working on Starfield. It may not be out yet, but Zur recently came on the Nikhil Hogan show for an interview where he talked about his video game composition and life. During this interview, he was asked to give out some details about Starfield, and Zur didn't hold back a lot. According to Zur, said, "Starfield is literally twice as big as the biggest Bethesda game until now, and this is pretty important considering how Bethesda titles tend to be really big projects." But surprisingly, Zur doesn't think that it's important that Starfield is the biggest one yet. He's more concerned with what it's going to do. He describes it as a really philosophical game that doesn't shy away from asking questions about what could be out there, jokingly adding that players may or may not have those answers by the end. Don't worry, we also have no idea what Zur was hinting at here. He described the game as something that's going to totally consume players, is daring, and isn't just another predictable shooter or RPG. All of these are elements that Zur definitely has to work into Starfield's music, so it'll be interesting to see how this directly influences not only the music, but also the game itself. After all, it's probably going to be as varied as the number of planets there are to explore, and in case you forgot, there are thousands of them in Starfield. Finally, here's a hint at what the game will be like, but Zur definitely has a point. It's not about size, but what a game does with said size that will truly mean something. After all, while we have other games like Fallout and Skyrim which are huge, that's not what keeps bringing players back, but it's got more to do with the quality of the game and how its rich worlds are populated. We should also note that, while the upcoming sci-fi title will let players create their own stories within its overarching elements, the game does still have a central story. As per the comparisons made by Todd Howard, Starfield takes roughly 30 to 40 hours to beat, but all signs point toward a world where players can truly be consumed beyond that investment. As Zur says, that's a wrap for this video. Are you looking forward to Starfield? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.